Welcome back, everybody. Going into episode 2 of the session, as we have accepted or the team has accepted the mission from Sir Winston Clarkson to pay a visit to a Mrs. Henry Doyle in Kensington, um, and given instructions to find the servants' entrance. As we start fully realizing the social stratus that is created in this game of Victoriana. Again, just to remind everybody, this is 1856. It is at the height of such social norms, as it were, in London. But of course, we have the advent of steam and punk and magic and all sorts of goodness. So let's go ahead and get back into it as we move into the next scene here. So you guys are given instructions to make your way towards the neighborhood of Kensington. And as I kind of mentioned before, Kensington is it's in the heart of West End. The Royal Borough contains the wonderful Hyde Park and Kensington Palace, once home to our Queen before her ascension to the throne. It was the original home to the Crystal Palace and the 1851 Exposition. So maybe something of a point of interest for Dove, being his metallurgic metallurgic prowess. Might have seen some developments in ironworking.
He is quite impressed with the exhibit hall.
Yeah. So, and possibly, I don't know, Dr. Loom, would you be somebody who always might have visited the exhibit hall?
It's not inconceivable, but it wouldn't be his first stop.
Okay. All right. Well, so as you guys make your way in, this is
I would
go ahead.
suggest that we're not all walking in one clump. So to just be a little bit less conspicuous, either individually or in pairs, walking down whatever alleyway that leads to this entrance, trying not to draw attention.
Okay.
Well, we can also have the lieutenant go through the front door.
Yeah.
That's true.
He has every right to go in the front door. It's the rest of us that don't.
Yeah.
Dr. Loam would like to walk beside Dove and maybe have a short conversation while they're en route.
Okay.
All right. So maybe is this something that you want to have as an aside with Dove, or do you mind if everybody else is there, or what do you want to?
Everybody can listen. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So you guys are making your way into the neighborhood of Kensington. You're almost, just kind of passing that border, and there's Lambeth and Pimlico, which is close by as well. That at least to make sure my geography is right, I may have to correct that in the edit. But it's that kind of effect that when you've crossed over into a different area. You've crossed over into a different level, as it were. But yeah, go ahead. So, Dr. Loom, you wanted to have a brief conversation?
So I just envision us, we're walking down the street. About what time of day is it?
It's about 9:30, almost 10 o'clock.
In the morning or in the...
Oh, I'm so sorry. In the evening.
evening? Okay.
That's kind of the roadway that you're following along. You're passing a church as you're heading into Kensington, where there's a small cemetery that's there on the right-hand side.
Dr. Loom will just sort of glance around, and then he'll look up at the large bear man. Say, has it occurred to you that gnome knows far too much of our personal lives?
It occurs to me that most people know more about my personal life than I would appreciate. But yes, he does seem to know a good deal about all of us.
I find that somewhat disconcerting. I don't have any particular secrets that I want to keep, but everybody has private matters that are none of anyone else. But this gnome seems to know everything about all of us, and I find it troublesome.
For now, he seems to be of good intentions. I have a feeling that if he wanted to turn against us, he already would have.
As long as we're aware that he does have a certain level of power over us, and if that power starts to become exercised too freely, we may have to do something about it.
Trust me, I am always painfully aware of those who have power over me.
So how do you guys now the rest of you hearing the conversation, whether you would dive in or not, do you guys have that same kind of perspective of Sir Winston? Yes, this is
I think so. I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
okay. How about you, Miranda?
Miranda would not get into the conversation, but she would definitely be concerned about how much anyone knows about her background. The particular details of which you are familiar, if those became public, would be very problematic.
Right. Well, I'll posit to you guys that while there was, at that initial meeting, there was a certain amount of information, not so much sharing, but information teasing that got you guys hooked up with the first mission to gather that book, that it's entirely possible that he's making you think that he knows more than he does. And I'll throw that out there just as a counterbalance, but at the same time, there's the voice of Dr. Loom, who is also bringing up something that it sounds like you others are concerned about.
Yes. It would have at least crossed Miranda's mind. She would operate under the assumption that he does not know all the full details, but she will always keep in her mind that it's possible he knows more than he's saying. But so far, she has no reason to distrust. She's just wary.
Right. Gotcha.
And I think the lieutenant's the same way. He's kind of wary, but seeing how, like, his grandfather, he knows is somehow tied to this, he puts a little more faith into the organization than maybe he should.
Okay.
And
I do not like that gnome.
He's clinging to his last desperate hope.
I think concerned is the proper word for how Dove feels. Like, I don't think he's worried about it.
Right.
But I do think that he acknowledged it, mostly because he doesn't like anyone to have anything on him. But I also think that Dove is very, very cognizant of class. And gnomes are lowborn.
Right.
And so how much authority can he actually muster? So I think that Dove is concerned just because he worries about that stuff.
Right.
Anybody who has things over him he doesn't like it. He's not comfortable with it. But he's not exactly like itching that we're all gonna die.
Right. Okay. Now, do you guys is there possibly something kind of impression that that Sir Winston has given you guys that he would try and leverage information against you?
No, I don't have that feeling.
So, no.
What about you, Dr. Loom?
Dr. Loom has a fair amount of paranoia.
Right.
And so whether it's justified or not, he would be worried that it's possible. It's not even so much if it's likely or unlikely or it could be done. And he is unhappy about that, if it is in fact the case.
Dove's response was he wasn't being shady. It's literally what he thinks. He said if he was gonna do anything, he would have done it already.
Okay.
So.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Well, that's good. I'm getting that kind of varied perspective from each of you. It's nice to, because again, you're developing your characters as to how they see the world and the people that interact with them. So I'm digging it. All right. So,
They're like on this walk. Is it rainy?
I'm guessing it's rainy and
cold.
It's England. It's always raining.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
It's brilliant London weather. So yeah, it's been there's a bit of rain going on right now. It's a light mist that varies between a mist and a bit of rain. It's always got that kind of oddly oily feel to the water, just because of the amount of pollution that's kicked up into London. However, it's nothing that you're not used to. As far
What
as
time of
that's
year
concerned.
is this? Like, what season is this?
It is August, so late August when this is
Summer.
occurring. Yeah, I'm trying to keep as I send out, and for those at home who are watching the video here, I'll send out news clippings to the team ever so often. So those will be a good gauge of like when the next session is going to take place, like what time of year it'll be. I always forget to mention that hey, there's a date at the top, and that actually is going to correlate with the game instead of being historical stuff. So yeah. Just a heads up on that one. Cool. All right. So yeah,
Nate,
so it's late
I have
August.
a question. Nate, would Lieutenant Blackwell be concerned about walking down the street with Miranda, particularly, or any one of our group? So if Dove and Dr. Loom are off talking, would it be acceptable for the two of us to be walking together, or would you be separate?
I think Miranda he would probably walk with, but not with the non-humans.
Okay. Because in her case, she definitely would not want to be by herself as a foreigner, as a foreign woman. She would want to have some kind of accompaniment.
Sure.
So, so that would then I'm walking with you.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. So you guys are moving along, and here I'll add some rain here for you. Let's see if that actually comes through. Yeah, it does. Good. So yeah, you guys are making your way down the road. You guys have put a little distance between each other. Interestingly enough, as you're moving through this area of Kensington, or as you kind of move into the area of Kensington, you notice that there is still some activity on the streets, in that it's a lot of the servants moving back and forth. But on occasion, you'll see a carriage going by with the curtains drawn across the windows, that sort of thing. High-class people doing what high-class people do on occasion that sometimes doesn't want to see the light of day, so they move around at night. But yeah, so as you guys are making your way down the road, let's actually introduce some dice into this, if you guys want to. So, shall we engage in some perception rolls?
Oh boy.
Dove might as well not roll.
Poor Dove.
You never know. You know.
I get lucky.
In the words of my father, every once in a while, even a blind squirrel finds a nut.
That's right. That's right. So you'll find your character icons on the top left, so you can click on it, and you should see the available skill, skill checks, or whatever you want to call them.
Skill and attribute?
Skill and attribute. Yeah, you could probably use that one. That'd be fine.
Okay.
Perception.
So you can grab your character sheets out there.
Now, I will say at this point that those of you who aren't already dealing with black dice, like myself, you can add 2 good dice, because this is a common skill. But for every die you add a black die to it.
Right. So, yeah, so that being one of your limitations, then there's no additional difficulty dice that I'm introducing into this. So when the black dice icon comes up, for the most part, people won't have to insert anything. But for you, Dove, obviously you'll have some introductions there. And to remind, as you guys roll the dice, make sure you hover over to see if you received any 1s, which are also included as successes.
So is the perception skill, is it just the perception, or do we add wits to that? Or
look at what Dove rolled.
Oh my goodness, look at you now. Wow, 1 and then 3 successes on the black dice. That's not good. Okay. Nate, what was your question again?
My question is it just perception, or do you add wits to that?
You're going to add in your
perception
skill plus your attribute, the related attribute, and
perception
then,
and wits.
Yep. There you go.
Jeff, I have a minor issue with this at the moment. When I'm clicking on the icon that's supposed to bring up the chat window, it's automatically popping it out, and it's a blank window. It's not even letting me click through to it and leave it in the screen. I might need to hop out and hop back in again if that's the case.
That's weird. Because I see your roll went through, but it was an initiative roll, which is kind of odd.
I don't even know that I did that. If I did it, I didn't intend to do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, yeah, you want to jump out and jump back in real quick?
I'll do that right now.
Okay. And for the guys at home, that's just one way of kind of recycling through Roll20 ever so often. If you're during a peak time, such as Fridays, on occasion will be a peak time, Saturdays as well, you may have to kind of either recycle your settings, which I think while I'm on the window here, I can show you guys at home. yeah, you'll be able to recycle through your video and voice settings. Sometimes that will work, or sometimes you will have to actually exit the game and join back in to clear up any issues. So just something for the home team to recognize for your
I'll
enjoyment.
check out Dr. Loom's more.
Dr. Loom. Wow.
I have to say, I almost want to come up with a reason that Dove failed his so spectacularly.
Well, that's the other half of it. And again, just as a reminder for folks at home, as you're rolling the dice for this game, what ends up happening is you're looking for 6s and 1s as successes. And those 6s explode, so you re-roll them. And the way we have it coded here for a macro is that it will automatically re-roll the 6s. But unfortunately, I'm sorry, not Dr. Loom, but Roll20 doesn't track both successes of 6 and 1s. So what ends up happening is you have to hover over those numbers and find out exactly how you did. So cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So-
Looks like your
so
roll.
I
did
rolled-
work.
this time.
There you go.
So I rolled a grand total of no successes on my white dice, which is for the actual skill, and
Right.
3 successes on the black dice, which means not only did I fail, I failed spectacularly.
Yes, yes, indeed. So how does that look now? So we've got, let's see, Miranda, I see I see your first roll here for perception, which gives you
wait.
2 successes, it looks like, a 1 and a
Yep.
6. Dr. Loom did exceptionally well. You have 4 1s, which normally bodes disaster, but in this game is brilliance. And then Lieutenant Blackwell, you have 1 success there too. All right. So Dr. Loom's probably the most perceptive of the group. Then Miss Russell, and then the Fair Lieutenant, and then lastly Dove. So Dove, what does it look like? What does that look like when you roll?
It depends. The perception, it would have been the same roll either way, but is this a hearing perception or a seeing perception?
For Dr. Loom, it'll be both. For you, it'd probably just be hearing.
Just be hearing?
Yeah.
I'm basically going to tell you that if you guys, for those of you watching at home, if you didn't watch the character creation episode, which you should, Dove takes a penalty for both. He takes a penalty for sight perception rolls because he's missing an eye.
Mm.
He takes a -2 penalty to perception rolls with hearing because he is a blacksmith and a machinist, he is hard of hearing. I'm going to say that he had a wicked bout of tinnitus, and he literally just has this intense ringing in his ears.
It just springs up at the right moment.
Yeah.
Well, it was
So
worse.
literally, while the rest of you guys are like hearing all this stuff, Dove's just sitting there with his finger in his ear trying to...
It's better than my idea, which was he had his head cocked to the side, and then the rain got in, and he got swimmer's ear or something. That would have been worse. But yeah, no, that's perfect.
See
Bad
Dove
bout
popping
of
up on
like
one foot.
it's like
gonna
what
step
is
on the
that?
door.
So, Dr. Loom, you see and hear what sounds like people shouting. You're hearing invectives, you're hearing multiple voices, but it's kind of in the distance, like it's in the direction your guys are going, but it is at least maybe 3 or 4 blocks down. But in addition to that, you are also seeing a brighter than normal glow on the horizon. It kind of like again, it kind of bathes into the fog and the rain that's coming down, and you know how that light kind of tends to just blanket into it or blend into the rain. So you're noticing that as well. There's gaslit lanterns or lampposts along the road, so you're able to see as you're kind of moving in between pools of light. But yeah, up ahead you're definitely seeing a larger glow. Lieutenant, or let's see, we'll go with Miranda next. Miranda, you're hearing like the shouts of people. So you're not quite seeing that kind of glow. You're kind of squint a little bit because you're looking in the direction of where you're hearing the sound of shouting, but you're not quite seeing anything out of the ordinary. And then Lieutenant Blackwell, you do hear, actually unique to you because you recognize it, you hear the sound of orders being given.
Okay.
Shouted orders. Stand to, encircle, that sort of thing. You're starting to hear that.
Okay.
All right. right.
I leave it to you people because I didn't get any of that.
And then over on the side, you have Dove going, ah, ah. So what do y'all do with that information?
I just have this image of Dove in the corner just cursing in Russian.
Nice.
So I guess I tell the rest of the party that I hear that orders are being given, and it sounds like someone's forming up ahead. I can't tell whether or not they're getting ready to engage us. Can I?
No, definitely
okay,
no, not at all.
Okay.
It's something to do with the commotion. It's probably like about 3 blocks down.
Okay.
We should proceed with caution.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Dr. Lim, with all of that you observed?
You'll point out the glow on the horizon, and if you can't make any discernible words out of what's being shouted, you will. How far away are we from our destination?
Well, you take a gander down at the, or maybe you remember the directions because I think Lieutenant Blackwell has them now. You are heading down 5 blocks into the right, and from what you can tell, as far as just based on your stellar perception, it's about 3 blocks into the right that this disgruntlement is occurring.
It sounds like we're going to.
Are there alleyways? Could we perhaps go toward our destination without going down the street that we're on right now?
Sure, you could probably navigate your way there.
Curious. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a poor opinion of mobs.
Uh-huh.
They're generally made of people, which I find barely tolerable. We should go around or not go at all.
I love it. I love it.
Perhaps we should approach from a different angle and stay out of the main thoroughfare until we can better determine what's going on.
All right.
It sounds like
my vote. I don't necessarily want to avoid it. I mean, I want to avoid getting caught up in it, but I would be curious to see, is this, what's going on? Is it in any way related to our destination? Those kinds of things. So, but approach with caution.
I'm literally at your guys' mercy. I have no idea where any of this is happening, so I'm literally waiting for you guys to make a move.
Well, Dove, actually, I mean, are you guys, you mentioned the word mob, didn't you, Dr. Loom?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Like group of, or a mob of people, that sort of thing. Dove, does that, I'm trying to think on your skill sets. Let me get into roll.
Let me throw out there that my guy does have a tactics specialty. So if I have foreknowledge of enemy positions and things like that, we get a bonus to our combat rolls, I think, is what the skill gives us. So
nice.
If we get into it, that's something we can use.
Very cool.
Dove is pretty much good at talking his way out of a problem, and if he can't talk it out, punching through whoever it is that doesn't want to talk it out. So
nice.